Maserati go crazy.
I gotta grind till there's nothing left. Every day I'ma make it, gotta give it my best. Feel like I'm running out of time now with niggas stress. So I stack every dollar, gotta double the check. And my team, we going hard, so watch me finesse. I chase a bag, ain't no time to rest. I can't stop till I got my name on it. I'm going until I get everything I want. I want a big house with a backyard with the pool in it. And a fish tank in my big house, so if we got beef, we throwing food in. I need a big car with some nice rims with the roof lit, so I can do the dash, then swerve, bitch, I went to school with. Another house up on the hill, so my mama be straight. A couple acres of that land, so my siblings could play. And if my daddy acting right, I put food on his plate. So when I finally get that chance, I'ma do what it take. I want 100K on my wrist, I shine bright when the lights low. Another 100K on my neck, VVS looking like white snow. Maybe courtside with Drake and them. 2 chains on my album, so I chase it back by any means. Hoping one of them will be the outcome, and I will. Grind to the death of me. Family, money, and loyalty be the recipe. I will do what it take to make my mama proud. On the road to them riches, and you can't stop me now. I gotta grind till there's nothing left. Every day I'ma make it, gotta give it my best. Feel like I'm running out of time now with niggas stress. So I stack every dollar, gotta double the check. And my team, we going hard, so watch me finesse. I chase a bag, ain't no time to rest. I can't stop till I got my name on it. I'm going until I get everything I want. I got big dreams like Martin Luther and Malcolm X. If I had a million men just to walk with me, I could worry less. If they gave a couple my
to make it relatable and the change going is to give you inspiration. Get inspired. Tune in to Hop the Series Wednesdays at 8 p.m.
Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to this week's edition of Uphill Battle. We are at the dawn of America's 250th birthday of this country. And another dawn is arise. A true blue, it seems like a revolution is going on. And we're going to get into it. We're going to get into it and talk about how the revolution is being televised worldwide. And it's democratic socialism. What's up, son?
Same old. You know, and it's funny because we were talking about that. We were talking about it the other day, and then you know, on Sunday, and then 2 days later, here it is. You know, with another socialist.
Yes.
You know, so awesome.
We also want to touch on something else happened. We're going over Tuesday's primaries, focusing in Colorado, but also Tuesday also marked the end of the Supreme Court docket. Is usually you get a bombardment of different rulings on June 30th. I say they do it and they hold it to the end so they can skirt away and disappear for the summer and I have to answer for it, good, bad, or indifferent. I mean, according to how, because when rulings come down, there's always people that's for or against the rulings, but they usually release the most controversial rulings are at the end of the docket, which was that's why when Calais was released, it was very shocking because everyone thought Calais would be released at the end of the docket on June 30th, but as we know now that they have been releasing rulings based on ideology, so they give time for legislators to actually act on it. It would have been too late But let's get into it. Where you want to start, son? Let's go with it.
Yeah, let's start with the primaries from Tuesday. As you just mentioned, over in Colorado, there were a lot of interesting primaries. We alluded to it already, but and one of the House races, as we mentioned, another socialist. Here we go. And so this time in the Denver area, it was Malat Quiros, who is a political novice. This is the first time she's running for office. New to politics. She unseated a fifth, or she will be unseating a 15-term incumbent, and Diane DeGette. Again, so 15 terms, that's 2 years every term. That's 30 years. So 3 decades of the same representation in this district. And this newcomer just came in and just completely just took over. So Kiro, she's a former New York City lawyer who got fired from her job after she condemned and responded to law firms like the one that she was working for, who sent a letter to law school deans around the country urging them to do more to stop what they saw as anti-Semitism that was rising on their campuses during protests against Israel's war in Gaza. And Quiros, she again condemned this letter and called out these law firms for conflating criticisms of the Israeli government with anti-Semitism, which just cheapens the argument in the conversation. And she was fired over this, so she lost her job. She was forced to move back home to Colorado, where her family had settled in after coming from Ethiopia when she was younger. And a bunch of lawyers who felt the exact same way that she did in response to those law firms coming out and saying that, reached out to her and say, hey, like, yeah, like we agree with you 1,000%. We agree with that, but we just didn't want to speak out against it because we didn't want to lose our jobs. And more importantly, we didn't want to lose our health care. So, which one of the many things that comes with the coupling of employment and health insurance in this country, but another issue for another day. But and moving back home, she started working as a barista, and she got involved with volunteering on a local congressional campaign. And that's where she really started to understand the grassroots movement that was growing in the Denver area, and started to, understand the progressive base. And the group Justice Democrats, which is founded by Cenk Uygur and Kyle Kalinske. Cenk Uygur comes from what is that? From the Young Turks, really good, progressive organization that's been doing a lot of work for a long time on more like progressive socialist issues, more so. And then Kyle Kalinske, also someone that comes from the progressive left as well. So they founded this group, and the Justice Democrats, they're a very big reason how the initial squad members got elected to Congress. So we're talking about AOC, Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, directly out of the Justice Democrat movement. But so they basically like spotted Quiros, and they encouraged her and supported her in setting up a run. And the Justice Democrats getting behind her is what kind of just like sent something off for the local DSA chapter, so the Democratic Socialists of America. And they end up meeting with Quiros, and she's new to politics. So she didn't even have a label to it. She didn't even know specifically what her politics were. But in finding out what the socialist platform was, she said, we share a lot of the same values, and the same values that I share with the DSA, the voters in Denver share these values as well. And she pointed to a couple of ballot initiatives that they were approved in the previous elections, which saw universal preschool and federal funding and or public funding in elections. So she saw that wave and said, hey, like the voters are there too, so we need a party that's going to be there. And it's actually funny because the representative that she unseated, Diane DeGette, she is, and it's the same thing that we were saying, like, and you can say the quote unquote thing, yeah, but it's the same thing we we're talking about last week with Claire Valdez and Antonio Reynosa in the New York 7. It's that, it's basically progressive versus progressive. And in this race, I mean, when we talk about the House of Representatives, there's a lot of members of the party that are in the progressive caucus, right? That doesn't necessarily mean that they're progressive. And there's also a bunch of situations where you can just sign on to legislation, even though, you don't necessarily agree with it, but it's just good to have your name attached to it. But you know it's not going to go anywhere. It's not going to pass. But either way, DeGette, she is the co-sponsor in the House for a Medicare for All bill, and she has done a lot of work on abortion access, and she was also one of the impeachment managers against Donald Trump when he was tried for impeachment back in 2020. So again, she has a lot of bona fides when it comes to to the left, but it was the support of Israel, and it was the support of Israel refusing to speak out strongly against it, and also the fact that she was taking corporate PAC money. Two really big issues. And in this election, also anti-incumbent sentiments and anti-establishment sentiments also played a role in this election, and also the governor race, which we'll get into in a second as well. But basically, yeah, that's what it came down to. It came down to she was taking money and she wasn't hard enough on Israel, and she even told constituents who pressed her on the Israel issue that she said, "Hey, like if it's such a problem, don't vote for me." And basically, that's what Denver told her, and that's what they did. They didn't vote for her. They voted for Malak Kuros. And again, she's running on a very progressive agenda. She wants to abolish ICE. She wants to create a nationwide moratorium on data centers, get rid of data centers. She wants an updated Green New Deal. She wants to overhaul campaign finance laws, and she doesn't want to support, a conversation we kind of got into with Hakeem Jeffries the other day. She doesn't want to support a House leader who's going to take any corporate donations and money from corporations. And as we know, well, the Democratic Party is littered with people who are taking corporate money, but Hakeem Jeffries specifically is Mr. Corporate. So very interesting to see. But definitely wanted to highlight this because, as we mentioned, it's another socialist that's going into Congress. This is coming off of, again, like we mentioned, Chris Rabb. This is coming off of Derelisa Evelia Xavier. This is coming off of Claire Valdez. And we already have AOC, Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar. We already have people on the left that are in Congress. So we're just adding to the numbers, and it's going to be very interesting to see how things continue to shake up.
Justice Democrat. Well, Kyle. What's it? Kyle Kulinski. I have been following him lately, and actually he has a secular talk podcast where it's though he doesn't take any corporate money, is completely independent, and he spoke about when forming the Justice Democrats, it may have just been a few years too early, came to it too early, but now is actually coming to fruition. What people to add on to your point, Duquette is a corporate dem. She has been in power for 30 years. She took over for another Democrat in the district, Schroeder, who was reigned for 30 years. The interesting thing when you talk about Kuros coming in and she was a newcomer, and this is what I believe is a revolution in a sense, whereas though I want our audience to understand when it comes to politics and when it comes to being in the House and being in the Senate, seniority and time means a lot. And a lot of times when it comes to local politics, the reason why this was one of her first real primary challenges, because one, out of respect, it was other people that wanted the seat, but out of respect, they have been asking her to retire. So they didn't actually primary her. It was other people in line that wanted the spot, but they feared going against her out of respect. At a certain point, and I love this, that seniority has to go out the window.
Yeah.
If a person is not delivering for you, it's the reason why Congress comes up for every 2 years. They need to deliver. This is your closest direct representative.
Hmm.
It is your district. It is your local person. So, for one, over 90% of her donations were from corporate donations.
Hmm.
The opposite of Kit Rivers, though, and we'll discuss this with the Senate race that was in Colorado too, when it was another DSA. Well, she was DSA. She wasn't back, but she was aligned.
Hmm.
And I believe if she um, actually stayed with the DSA, she may have actually pulled that off because she only lost by 10 points. By being outspent 10 times the amount that she spent. But back to this, this is a totally big blue district. This is a very progressive district. Um, but this woman has been in Congress for 30 years, but she's a back of the bench person. She
Hmm.
she had she didn't really deliver any type of legislation though.
Hmm.
That's the point, and that's what she was picked apart. She was been in office for 30 years, but she wasn't
The
part of
House
party leader.
leadership or
She
anything.
wasn't
Yeah.
part of the House leadership. She didn't make a. I mean, she was respected because she was incumbent, but she was in a safe district, and she basically just didn't have to try hard to keep her seat, and that's why this up and comer, a person who was born the same year she took office.
Yeah.
So, and she's very good. She's very, like you said, she was a lawyer who she she believes in what she says
Yeah.
to the point where as though she basically gave up, got fired because she refused to take down her um, letter
Yeah.
state defending protests, and they told her take it down or she was going to lose her job, and she lost her
Hmm.
job.
Yep.
And one of the things that you have to love about somebody is because they have the integrity to the
Hmm.
point where though people use financials and healthcare and things like that against you. So whereas though you can be complacent, and she refused to be complacent, and it was just her moral fortitude.
Hmm.
It wasn't designed so it's like I'm going to do this and then I'm going to go run for Congress. She became a barista.
Yeah.
She came back and became a barista. So um, I will say, and like I said, it's a solid blue district, so she'll be going to Congress.
Yeah.
Um, and I do, and this is moving forward. I do expect her to have some type of big type of primary challenge, in 2028,
For
because
sure.
it was plenty of people that wanted that seat that shied away from it because of
Hmm.
respect for DeKalb. But it was interesting, and it was I think they're still it's not official, but it's going to be close after the. It was still last time I checked, it was still like 28,000 votes that need to be counted.
Yeah.
But it's she should probably win by close to 10 points.
Yeah. She's trailing right now. And yeah, like I said, they got she conceded and everything. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see where it finally, like you said, shakes out. But I got victory for another victory for the left, another victory for the socialists. And again, this is the direction. Democrats, listen to what your voters are saying. This is the direction they're saying we need to be taking the party in. And again, these are happening in, like, Colorado is a blue state.
Very blue.
Republicans haven't won a like statewide office or anything since 2016. They're not relatively competitive in that state. Same thing with Philadelphia. Same thing with New York City. These are blue pockets, but it is telling you where the base of the Democratic Party is. So listen up.
Also, what I found that was interesting, if we want to move over to the Senate race,
Yeah, go ahead.
um, the incumbent Senator John Hickenlooper, how do you pronounce that?
Hickenlooper. Yeah.
Hickenlooper. He won his race against the challenger, Julie Gonzalez. I believe she was a state representative.
I believe so.
Um, yeah, he won 55 to 45.
Yeah. Hmm.
She used to be a DSA member, but I believe something they said she let her membership lapse, and she didn't actually have the backing of DSA. And when I say the backing, I mean they are very organized.
Yeah, the party
Um,
infrastructure. Yeah.
the party infrastructure. Oh, funny story about that. I was watching a video that day during the primary, and of course, Chris Rapp wound up coming out there
Hmm.
to support. Chris Rapp was out there, and Claire Valdez, she came out there, and of course, Hassan Piker and everything. And this is
Hmm.
the thing with these DSA candidates. They go around stomping for
Yeah.
each other. So they actually were out talking to constituents. So they they're having a conversation with this person and they're telling them what they stand for and what Carol stands for.
Hmm.
And they wind up and the person said, it's me and it's two other people and two other voters in the house. We have three ballots at home
Hmm.
because a lot of Colorado is, they mail your ballots to you. And they wind up convincing these people to go home, get their ballots, and vote that day based on their policy
Hmm.
and talking to the constituents. They have over they phone bank. They knock on doors. During her speech, she was talking about how they knocked on 115,000 doors.
Hmm.
They had over 500,000 calls to people regularly throughout the primary season, up and into the last week. So people were engaged. Their groundwork is what has been putting this into play.
Hmm.
This is something that a lot of people, that's how they brought a lot of young people. When we looked, I don't know if you saw her party um, when they was doing during the election, it was packed and it was a bunch of young people
Hmm.
and it looked like a house party. They're playing music. They are just in there, and this was like soon as the first drop at 7:03,
Hmm.
they went crazy because they knew she was going to win because she had a lead when the first returns came in, and the way they anticipated was that she would be behind and she would pick up momentum throughout the night because young voters vote later.
Yeah.
But she had already had a lead from the onset. So it was very interesting. But we're switching over to the senator race.
Hmm.
Hickenlooper, he won 55-45 over Julie Gonzalez. But this was the interesting part. He spent $8 million. This is name recognition. This is the incumbent, and
Hmm.
he spent $8 million to win this primary, whereas though his opponent only spent $800,000,
Hmm.
and she came within 10 points.
Also, there were no debates. There were no
No
debates
debate.
in this
No,
primary. Yeah.
no, no. This shows where the electorate is at. Whereas though somebody can spend 10% less and just based on their message get across, and it was it's very difficult to be the incumbent, and it's
Yeah.
very different to be somebody that's already with the establishment and has the money backing. But this
And in the
shows,
Senate.
and in the Senate,
Yeah.
big time, because this is once every 6 years, and name recognition is a big deal.
Yeah.
A big deal. But it was a big surprise in the governor's race in Colorado.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you said, and that also came down to, or we thought it was going to come down to name recognition. And this one is interesting because there was two basically people who had to get elected statewide. So the Attorney General, what was it, Phil Weiser, he was going up against the current Senate sitting senator, the other one, Michael Bennett. Michael Bennett, you might remember him. He ran for president back in 2020. Only briefly, he was not very successful at all, but he did run for president very briefly back in 2020. He was running for governor, and he lost against Phil Weiser. And it's funny, Bennett, he had the backing of the entire House delegation from the state. He also had a lot of money behind him. He infused some money personally into his campaign as well.
Yeah,
But Phil Weiss,
he's
yeah,
personally rich. Yeah, he's
yes,
personally rich. Yeah.
yeah. So you have that. You had better name ID and recognition again being a senator. Like you said, they only run every 6 years. So he had that, and he wasn't on the campaign trail as much as Phil Weiser was because again he's a sitting senator, so he had to be back in D.C. For a lot of votes. So he just didn't have the time that he would have wanted on this race. But Weiser, again, being a state official, he was always there. He was always home, and something that they credited him with is that he would travel long distances to some small counties just to give very short and brief like speeches or like meet and greets. However, he would make the time to go out there and be with the people. So that's something that they credited with the race. And again, this is just interesting to point out because it just goes into the anti-incumbent, anti-establishment sentiments that it seems to be, driving across the country. And this is the same thing, and we talked about this before, that happened in 2024. Even though Donald Trump had previously been president, a lot of people saw it as a change election, and I saw Kamala Harris being, basically the incumbent. You're a member of the sitting administration, you're the vice president, even though you're no longer running alongside Joe Biden, you're basically running on his record. And she was basically running on Joe
Yeah.
Biden's record. And there was anti-incumbent sentiments there, and it transcended onto a lot of these primaries that we already seen early in the elections, primary season this year. And no different than in Colorado with the House race, and here now as we're seeing with the governor's race as well. So very interesting to see where the Democratic Party is at. Again, the base of the Democratic Party is at, and it's going to be really interesting to see how the establishment and how the party at large responds to this. And we talked about this on Sunday already. We already know how some people in the party are responding by saying basically that these candidates basically should just go start their own party and that they're not really Democrats. They're not really a member of this party, whatever the case is. But that's obviously just cope, and it's just the new boogeyman to point to. But eventually they're gonna have to settle on either a message on why they need to be better, or why this is happening, or they need to just actually get with the program and switch up their message and actually start getting behind candidates and people that actually do support um, a vision for the country?
This is what I have been talking about to you and just my belief system. And if I'm being proven correctly, it's already come out that Kamala Harris Kamala Harris and Gavin Newsom
Gavin, yeah.
have reached out to Zoran Modani and who have reached out to other progressive candidates, have reached out to pro-Palestine leaders because they're gearing up for 28.
Hmm.
One of the things that we done spoke on here before and we talked about is Democrats that want to be pragmatic, they're going to listen and get pushed from where the winds are blowing when they don't actually truly they're not neo liberal, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
like they're not neocons or neolib, so you can push them, and of course you're going to get pushback from corporate Dems, but at a certain point, whereas though if the electorate is moving in a certain way, they are going to have to come to a consensus and have these conversations. That's
Yeah.
the whole point of being a big tent and actually having people. There is no, yeah, you know what? I would love for it to have to expand the party and have be like in a parliamentary way, like they do in the UK. But that's not now,
Hmm.
and it's not in the near future. That's one of the DSA's actually tenements about expanding the House of Representatives and
Yeah.
having and expanding the parties. So they can have you can have like we spoke on our previous show, why you live and same with me and same across the country. Why do you live in a district when it's basically five districts, five neighborhoods, five, six neighborhoods, and one district being represented by one person when those five different neighborhoods may have definitely probably have different issues that need to be combated. Whereas though if you expanded it, whereas though each neighborhood had their own representative,
Hmm.
you know, but I digress.
Yeah.
It's very interesting, and it's going to move towards. November is going to be interesting, and then we still have some key races that's coming up in Wisconsin.
Hmm.
There's a progressive in Wisconsin that is well, I'm sorry, she's a socialist. A socialist in Wisconsin that's going for governor. And she is actually running against Barnes, who was the lieutenant governor over there. But it is a woman. That's going to be, I believe that's in August, and we still have Michigan with Abdul. I'll say
Saeed.
Saeed,
Hmm.
who this week it was so funny. I don't know if you saw the video, whereas though he was talking about how he was talking, talking to constituents, and somebody walked up and told him that he didn't like him.
Hmm.
And he said, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Like, but he's like, I don't like you, but I'm going to vote for you. And he said, okay. He said, why are you going to vote for me? No, he said, why don't you like me? He said, because you're Muslim. But I think you want me to have health care. And he said, I do want you to have health care. He said, that's why I'm going to vote for you. And he responded, you don't have to like me. You have to like you. You need to vote for policies that's good for you. Don't vote for a politician because you like them.
Mm-hmm.
Vote because they're going to do something for you. I need you to like you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the whole thing. You take away the term Democrat, Republican, moderate, conservative, liberal, progressive, social. What are your policies?
Mm-hmm.
Does those policies align with me and what I need? What do my people need? What my family? What's going to work good for me?
Mm-hmm.
We get caught up, and this is what people do. This is how they do this to you. I can say that I'm a progressive, and you can a liberal, a socialist, a communist, or whatever. It doesn't matter. Which we already stated in previous shows. They say Joe Biden was a communist or a socialist.
Yeah.
They said Obama was a socialist or a communist. If you're a Democrat or you're always going to be a communist or a socialist, and they're far from it. Listen to the policy.
Mm-hmm.
When you're talking about a candidate. What happens too many times is we get caught down in these culture wars. The Republican Party never talks to you about policy.
Mm-hmm.
They're always they're Freddy Krueger. It's a nightmare on Elm Street. They're always getting you to point at this one and that one, stating that this one is about to take your jobs. This is the reason why you're doing bad. This, that, and other. So, whereas though you always have to point fingers and then you never actually do what they supposedly say you're supposed to do and actually, look at self.
Mm-hmm.
And don't actually look at the policies that we're going to do. Lyndon Johnson said, I can make a white man be upset with blacks and still pick their pockets. I'm kind of, and I'm just doing it because if you're worried about this black man taking your job or being successful or doing this, that, and other, you don't pay attention to the daggone person that's above you just taking everything from you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's obvious. That's the whole system that's going on. People talk about socialism and capitalism and free market capitalism when we actually do not have free market capitalism. When people say that they're a capitalist and they believe in capitalism, that is not the capitalism that we abide by in America today. This is a corporatism. Free market capitalism is mom and pop stores.
Mm-hmm.
Where are the mom and pop stores? That's entrepreneurship, whereas though it's competition. Where competition is actually, I was having this conversation. You live in an area where it's actually competition. And when we went to Arizona in February, I came up to New York, and I was so surprised. But this is real free market capitalism. I stopped at a food truck to get a bagel sandwich. I just wanted a bagel sandwich, egg and cheese bagel, because I always best bagels is in New York. And I was so surprised that egg and cheese bagel sandwich was still like $4.50. Why? Because competition. It was and this was right outside of Madison Square Garden. But half a block up, there was another food truck with bagel sandwiches. And then 2 blocks over, it was another cart because of competition. It was not a monopoly. So all the prices had to stay low and stay in competition so they can get the business.
Hmm.
That's real free market capitalism. It's not actually with corporatism, which what we have, whereas though corporations are the actual ones that reap the rewards of socialism because they get kickbacks and tax breaks from the government,
Hmm.
and to the point where as though what you have these it's corporate welfare because how can somebody actually work at Walmart or Target or Home Depot, these corporate large overlords, but they
Hmm.
still have to be on some type of subsidies and have to be
Yep.
on SNAP? These are all
Crazy.
these are yeah, but I'm saying this. So the capitalism that you people talk about doesn't actually exist anymore. It
Hmm.
hasn't existed in over 45. It hasn't existed since deregulation and since Ronald
Yeah.
Reagan. And we need to dig into once these primaries are over, we need to really dig in and talk about the economics and the history because so you can see the difference and what actually is going on. Um,
Yeah.
did you have anything else for any other of the primaries?
No, no, just the ones in Colorado that I was looking at for this week, and then the Supreme Court stuff. Yeah.
Well, let's go on to the Supreme Court stuff. It was many,
Yeah.
many rulings. Court to where you sit. Well, I was good with I was good with like two of them, and then I was just depressed about
Yeah.
uh,
The other one. Yeah.
the other ones, the other few. But let's go over them.
Yeah. All right. So there's three that I wanted to highlight. I'll get to the one that the first one I'll cover, not related to the first two or the other two, but just to set it up. The Supreme Court in their final day of the year, they really dealt a blow to two major portions of Donald Trump's agenda when it comes to one, his grievances with voting and election infrastructure in the country, and also when it comes to immigration. So, a really big blow. And again, the Supreme Court currently has a 6-3 majority um, that favors the conservatives. So, for them to rebuke Donald Trump and on some of his larger um, issues and priorities, it is no small feat. So definitely wanted to highlight those two. But um, one of the things that they ended up passing yesterday, I'm sorry, on Tuesday on the last day for the year, um, was a 6-3 decision that dealt with transgender athletes participating in sports. And as I mentioned, it's a 6-3 decision. The court upheld laws in Idaho and West Virginia that ban transgender athletes from participating in girls' sports, and they determined that Title IX, the Title IX law that was passed in 1972, which sought to end discrimination based on sex in sports and programs that receive federal funds. They saw that they intended for girls and boys sports to be separate and for that to be based on biological sex and not on gender identity. In states where you had trans athletes participating, they basically ruled that no, you actually can't because it discriminates against women, and that is ultimately what the Trump administration was hoping for. So that specific one was a win for the Trump administration and for the right and the conservative movement as it currently constructed. But it was interesting because Brett Kavanaugh, one of the conservative justices on the court, um, basically in explaining his decision, he outlawed that basically this issue should be up to the states, and this decision doesn't affect, say, California's right to have transgender athletes, be included in girls' sports. And it's interesting to point out California because the Trump administration this time last summer sued California for allowing trans athletes to compete and girls sports, and they're threatening to pull millions of dollars in education funding from the state over that ruling. So yeah, so just interesting. Well, not surprising, but interesting that the Supreme Court ruled on this. But again, not surprising given sentiments in this country, specifically on the right. But again, with the 6-3 majority on the court, um, it was almost certain that once they decided to take this case up, that this is how it was going to end. I don't know if you had anything on this one.
Um, when you dig into it deeper, and this is a repressive court. Um, Many say, and I will ultimately agree. I won't see it, and you probably won't see it either. But this court is going to be looked back upon just like the court that had the Dred Scott decision.
Hmm. I'm gonna get into that
This
too.
court is this court is not on the right side of history. But what they tend to do, like what you're saying, they're pushing it back to they basically punt it. This court, many times, when they send stuff back to the states and say they're they're originalists, but they're also hypocrites to their originalism. For instance, oh well, we'll get to the birthright thing, but with
Hmm.
this decision, so 27 states in United States have transgender bans. So they're basically saying, hey, if that's what you want to do in your state, fine. But if you allow transgender, if that's what you want to do in your state, fine. It's the same thing. They didn't put a federal protection. Just
Hmm.
like where though they'll say, we did not outlaw abortion,
Yeah.
we pushed it back to the states. There is not a federal law or anything to cover it. It's the states have their rights and they can mandate what they want. So it's almost like no harm, no foul. Like, okay, we're not doing any, but they basically didn't save transgender
Hmm.
athletes. Not even to mention, this is another one of those wedge issues that has nothing to do with the gas. It has nothing to do with the economy.
Yeah.
In the NCAA, there are a total of 10 transgender athletes out of
Hmm.
500,000. Why are we talking about this?
Hmm. And it's one of the biggest culture issues for some reason.
Because they're picking your pocket
Hmm.
and you're worrying about things that has nothing to do with you and your family. No matter what, at the end of the day, human beings are human beings. And they make it seem like they're protecting women when they don't even want women to vote. They
Hmm.
don't want women to have any type of bodily autonomy. They talk about they love children, but they don't want to actually. They talk about loving children when they're taking away food for children and they're reducing WIC.
Hmm.
Look, people, look this up. They are reducing WIC. They have taken millions of dollars, billions of dollars out of Medicaid and
Hmm.
billions of dollars out of SNAP benefits. And trust me, people that are on SNAP need it.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
I digress. But I was totally upset about. I saw that coming,
Hmm.
and and it's an issue that should not be an issue that's being pushed um, because they just are trying to make another marginalized
Yep.
class, and just it's one of those things where as though you can beat down on people that
Yeah.
are marginalized and hide the fact that they're picking your pocket.
Yeah. Like you said, they need a boogeyman, and right now the LGBTQ are they're the boogeyman, along with obviously immigrants, which comes to the
The
next executive
TPS,
order. Yeah,
yeah,
um, ruling. So the Supreme Court also ruled on birthright citizenship. This one is really big because this is something that Donald Trump was. This is a project he's very passionate about. His first day back in office last year, he issued an executive order that was aiming to, what was it called, to protect the meaning and value of United States citizenship. And basically, he argued that the 14th Amendment does not should not be interpreted to say that anyone born in the United States should instantly become a citizen. Um, and it, honestly, like you said, the Supreme Court, this current iteration, they're very hypocritical between being originalists or just um, interpreting it how they seem fit, and that it's a living
being
document that changes with the time. Yeah, yeah,
pragmatic, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and
Hmm.
so I'm actually surprised that all the justices didn't concur with this one, but this
It's
was a
crazy.
six. Yeah, but this was a 6-3 decision in the opposite direction. So three
No, it
of the
wasn't.
conservative judges buked Trump, and then sided with the liberal justices, basically just affirming that the 14th Amendment does state that anyone who is like literally it says all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States of the state where they reside. So if you're born here, you're a citizen. It says it in plain writing. And like I said, the Trump administration, many on the right, they're trying to argue that, well, no, that was only supposed to apply to slaves during the time. Because as you mentioned, the 14th Amendment was, it overturned the Dred Scott decision that deemed that black people weren't citizens, basically. That black people, they were not citizens. You cannot become a citizen. So the Trump administration is saying this is not we talk what they call it is birth tourism, or they try to call them
Anchor
anchor
babies,
babies,
anchor
or
baby.
anchor, and they're saying it's a problem where you have people that come here and then when they're close to being pregnant and then they give birth here, so that now boom, because this child is a citizen, your parents got to the parents got to stay, the family has to stay, because now this is a U.S. baby, this is a citizen. So again, Trump was trying to overturn this. He even went in person to the Supreme Court back in April to listen to oral arguments in the hearing on this. So again, this is a project that he is very important to him, and him and Stephen Miller's goal and policy when it comes to immigration. So for the conservative Supreme Court to kind of buck him on this, specifically the justices that did it was Chief Justice Roberts, which depending on the issue he will kind of flip floppy, but again in the role as Chief Justice he kind of tries to keep basically the court from getting packed and tries to keep the legitimacy of the court by doing this. But he sided with the liberal justices, and the really interesting ones were Amy Coney Barrett, or maybe not considering their track record honestly. However,
Barrett
on
is a
Amy
he's an
yeah,
originalist. She's a federalist. She,
yeah,
she her the TPS part is what
yeah.
surprised me with her, and we'll talk about that. But with that, I'm going to add on to that. It's interesting because Clarence Thomas wrote the dissent.
Hmm.
Clarence Thomas is a man of few words, very few words. Clarence Thomas is famous for not actually cross examining or asking questions during oral arguments. This man wrote a 91-page dissent on this, and he hit all the key points of being a man who his whole career has been colorblind. He never brings color and race into his decision. He is a colorblind black man. He used race in his dissent by saying, using the conservative talking points of the 14th Amendment was based on slave children, giving them citizenship. It didn't have anything to do with anyone else. That was his interpretation, even though the people that made the amendment is reason why the 14th Amendment came right after the 13th Amendment, because blacks were still not looked as citizens. But when they made the 14th Amendment, and you can read it, anybody can go read it, they never spoke of race
Mm-hmm.
because they knew they guarded against the fact that somehow in the future somebody may pinpoint that it was specific, even though at the time it was to give citizenship to these freed slaves. They knew it's supposed, the way that it was determined, period, was anyone born here is automatically a citizen.
Mm-hmm.
They specifically did not put in the part of being a Negro, a black man, a free slave. Any person in jurisdiction, and they expounded and said the territories
Mm-hmm.
that were under the United States rule. You are a citizen. That is why Ted Cruz, who was born where? In Canada, was able to run for president because he was a U.S. citizen, because both of his parents were citizens, and I believe he was born on like a base or something.
Yeah.
The same thing when John McCain. John McCain was born in Panama, but he was born on an army base. So he was a U.S. citizen, so he could run for president. The greatest thing is Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson actually wrote an opinion to counteract Judge Thomas's opinion. And the reason that was so important is because this is history. Opinions are written down and kept. So she counteracted his. So in the future, when they look back and they look at his 91-page dissent, he point by point dismantled his whole opinion to counteract it, so it can be shown in the future when people read it that it was pushed back, and how she dismantled it was just a master class. And I would ask somebody, for those people that are, interested in stuff like that, read her opinion, slapping down, and she named Judge Thomas by name and went point by point and dismantled his whole argument.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just excellent. But move on. What's the third one you wanted to hit on?
And then the other one that's a major rebuke to Trump is they were hearing a case on mail-in balloting.
Yes.
One, unlike the other ones that were 6-3 decisions, this one was 5-4, so it was a little closer. It was a decision, and Roberts and Amy Coney Barrett joined the liberal justices in this decision, and they upheld state laws that allowed for ballots that were postmarked by election day, but that arrived after election day to still be counted within the election. So basically, states like California, where they, like you said, a lot of people they receive mail-in balloting. Colorado, Oregon, other states where you receive a mail-in ballot,
Hundred
you
percent.
can't as long as you return the ballot and it's postmarked by election day, so you sent it back by election day, even if they get it on, so if election day is November 3rd, even if they get it November 10th, they still have to count that vote. And Mail-in balloting is part of the reason why the California election, primary election results, and just elections in general in California take so long to figure out who won, because not only do you have the election day votes that you need to tabulate, but then you also need to wait for all of the mail-in ballots to come in and to count those as well. So Donald Trump and the Republican Party, they see mail-in balloting and this long process of counting votes as part of the larger scheme when it comes to voter fraud and election interference and stuff by the Democratic Party. So Trump, he even though he votes by mail in many of the past elections, even though he does vote by mail, he continuously calls out mail-in balloting and mail-in voting. It just calls it fraud, and he's against it. But the Supreme Court, they said no, dude, it is allowed in the states where they do allow for mail-in ballots to be received and counted. They will continue to be received and counted, and the decision on the mail-in votes, the decisions on the birthright citizenship, as I mentioned, again, these were big priorities for Donald Trump. So the fact that the conservative justices that he put on, Amy Coney Barrett and Brett Kavanaugh, the fact that they would side with the liberal justices and go against what he's trying to go, his movement, it really has angered the base in that part of the party. There's a bunch of people that are calling Kavanaugh and specifically Amy Coney Barrett out of their names. I mean, Amy Coney Barrett, she specifically was put in the court to overturn Roe v. Wade. Basically, that's the sole reason that she's on the court. That was her role, and she did accomplish that. And we have people that are now calling her out for this birthright citizenship thing. Senator Mike Lee from Utah, he said that if a woman gives birth at the Supreme Court, is her baby now entitled to automatic status as a justice? Again, calling out her as a woman. Same thing with Nancy Mace. Nancy Mace, who was running for governor. She's currently she's a congresswoman from South Carolina. She was running for governor. Donald Trump had endorsed her primary challenger, and it just that
Who lost?
yeah, and it just she lost very badly, but she refused to admit that Donald Trump didn't endorse her. So she continuously was posting like pictures of her together, her and him together, even if they were like AI and photoshopped and everything. It was really weird. She's a weird lady. But anyway, she had said that the 14th Amendment was running for free slaves, as the line right now in the Republican Party is. It's not for birth tourism. And then she said the men who wrote it knew the difference, but apparently the female justices on the Supreme Court do not. Again, another shot at her. And then even the college Republican chapter of the law school that Amy Coney Barrett went to at Notre Dame came out against her. They called her an absolute disgrace, and they apologized on her behalf that she is contributing to third world migration, and also part of the ire that she's kind of facing right now from the Republican Party also comes from the fact that she has two adopted Haitian children, and obviously that doesn't play well with a lot of the base in this party. A couple people came out and said, because of her interracial family, my grandchildren aren't gonna have, a country anymore. Just really, really bad, despicable attacks. But again, that's what this portion of the party has become and what they are. And it's funny, they even called her a DEI hire. So everything is coming full circle. Yeah, it's
Just
it's
one
just
time. All you have to do is go against what they believe in and what they
once,
want one time.
regardless
And
of
the
what you've
crazy
done.
thing about that is, but she voted to let the TPS protections for the 350,000 Haitians go away,
Hmm.
even though she has two adopted
Haitian
Haitian
adopted Haitian kids. Yep.
children. So this is where the hypocrisy comes in. I can be, this is my thing. With the birthright citizenship, everybody thought it would be a 9081, maybe 72, because people know how to read.
Hmm.
And point if you are a federalist or a originalist and you interpret the Constitution without any pragmatism, you just take the text for you interpret it the way the text is written. There's no way you can go and say that this is not what it meant.
Yeah.
But of course, we assume Thomas or Alito or Gorsuch, one or two of them would go against the buck just so they can write a big dissent and this, that, and other. Because a lot of times, the dissent is so powerful. That's what people like to read, and that's what actually goes through history. But
Hmm.
to have three of them, and actually it really was a 5-4 because Gorsuch played both sides. He voted against, this is the thing, and this is how Gorsuch is not getting killed. He believed, he voted that the executive order was illegal and it was wrong. But he concurred with the fact that the other portion, whereas though the 14th Amendment was for slaves, he played both sides.
Hmm.
So it really was a 5-4, 6-3 against the executive order, but 5-4 when he does agree that it was for the everybody born here shouldn't be a citizen.
Hmm.
So I don't know how he split the baby, but that's how he did it. And the crazy thing is, as many times the only way this can change is by amendment. And the craziest thing is what they're doing. Somebody already introduced legislation. This is what these crazy wacko fucking people. They're talking about banning women that are pregnant from coming into the country, and they're trying to pass that law.
Yo, they're crazy.
Yeah, yeah, and they're talking about trying to have an amendment, which it's impossible. In order to have an amendment, you actually have to have 2/3 of Congress, the House and the Senate vote for it, and then 38 states have to ratify it.
Hmm.
Birthright citizenship, no matter how many times they bring it up, it'll be generations before it could actually be any type of shot down. Even though it's been the land of the law of the law of the land for over 100
Hmm.
some odd years.
Yeah.
And it'd probably be another 100 years from now before somebody else try to strike it down.
Hmm.
But I digress. They're already talking about with that TPS, their the plumber that runs DHS, Mullen,
Mark.
is
Yeah.
already asking for Haitians to start the self-deport.
Hmm.
And what people don't realize is these people have been here because this country has made their country unstable.
Hmm.
It's because the policies of this country and the fact that, for one, Haiti, and we we need to do a real deep dive in the fact that how much Haiti has actually, how can I, Haiti's independence actually built America up. The Louisiana Purchase, it was all based on the fact that the Haitian Revolution, and because of economic policies over since they got their independence, has made them and put them in a bad place. And not even to mention how many several times when their democratic leaders started to actually go in a positive way, that the United States have coups and overthrows in the country
Hmm.
to keep them subservient and keep them in a bad way. But that's a whole nother
Hmm.
show. Talk about how Venezuela, Cuba, Haiti, Iran,
Hmm.
democratic places have been the whole Iran Contra
Yeah.
thing.
We could
You
sit here
know,
all day listing countries
these are all things.
that
Yeah,
we that we toppled, that we interfered with, that we tried to coup, that we caused turmoil and inflicted like decades worth of economic hardship on. It's like you said, literally we could be here all day doing that. But it's nasty what they're doing to the Haitian population right now. And as you mentioned, Amy Coney Barrett, come on, you have Haitian children, and for this to go down, it's like where's your backbone, where's your spine, um, and as I said, it's just a lot. The Haitian people as a whole, they've been through a lot, and not only with the assassination of their what was it, president or prime minister a couple of years ago, by forces that were basically backed and trained by the United States, of course, always between that, and then you had the devastating earthquake that happened. What was that, back in 2011, 2012? So it's just. Uh, Again, they're refugees for a reason. They're here for a reason. They're not just here to whatever, eat the cats and dogs or whatever they wanted to say during the presidential election. It's they came here in search of opportunity and for a better life. And in part we're in part of the reason that they're unable to have that back home in Haiti. So um, for us to be treating them this way right now, like you said, it's just nasty. It's abysmal, but that's that's what this administration is. That's what the current country is, for not even better, but just for worse. That's worse. You're muted. We don't hear you.
oh shoot, my bad. I muted me. Okay, I'm sorry about that. It's all based on hatred. It's all based
Hmm.
on the fact that it still is the same thing. You point to the fact, even the fact that these people that have been here for 10, 12, 15 years, they started families, they work, they pay taxes, and when you talk about an area like Springfield, Ohio, where as though it's a very high Haitian population, even and they work in manufacturing, many of the people that have these plants, they love these people. They
Hmm.
they one of the guys said, I have 30 Haitians working here. I wish I had another 30. He said, they come to work, they do their job, we have no problems. They not many of the daggone locals where this is what this white man said. They are on drugs, they late, they don't show up to work. It was a high turnover, this, that, and other. He was talking about the locals in the area. Not even to mention they they pay their rent on time, and they even said they pay over market price for the homes that they're staying in.
Hmm.
It's just, but
Yeah.
that people are allowing their racism to take over their capitalism, which that's one of the things that America is good for. A lot of times they will take their racism over their capitalism.
What a shame. Like you said, and to hardworking people.
Yeah. And they take the issue is when if it's one person, like for instance, it was one drunk driver that hit and killed somebody. So it was all the Haitians. But we don't use that same energy when it comes to white folk.
Mm-hmm.
White folk, if a white person do something wrong, is an individual person. But if it's somebody from another community, it's all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that. You wanna you got something you want to hit before we get out of here tonight?
Yeah, I mentioned it on Sunday, and something that you had hit on previously. We're about to celebrate the 250th anniversary of the country on Saturday with the 4th of July, and I'm going to DC this weekend. We'll go tomorrow, and I'm gonna check out some of the stuff that they have going over there, and it's interesting. I don't know if you saw it, but um, there are some members of the House, Democrats, obviously, that they've been looking into the Freedom 250, which is a public-private partnership that Donald Trump created via executive order last year. Basically, that he charged with um, putting on events to highlight America and to celebrate the 250th birthday for the country. But the thing is that Congress back in 2016 had already created a nonpartisan commission that's called America 250 to do the exact same thing. So again, Congress has America 250. Trump created Freedom 250. Freedom 250 is what brought us that UFC fight that happened on the White House lawn last weekend, a couple weeks ago, on June 14th, the president's birthday. Coincidence? No. Um, behind that, behind the state fair that they have going on currently right now at the National Mall,
That nobody's at.
and yeah, that absolutely no one is at. And also they're coming out with some kind of like Patriot Games, which is going to be for like the top high school athletic that top high school athletes. That's going to happen sometime in August. Which basically just sounds like the Hunger Games. Is basically what that's going to be. But anyway, so this group of House Democrats, they were looking into the financials and everything that went with Freedom 250, like what exactly is going on with it, and basically what they found is that Donald Trump is using it to launder money to basically loyalists and people that have helped him in his campaign. Um, so I mean, so many different moving parts to this thing. So about $100 million was allocated from Congress that was going to go to the Interior Department, specifically to help celebrate the 250th celebration for the country. Of that $100 million, 25 million. Um, oh wait, I'm sorry. Of that money, most of it was supposed to go towards America 250. So the congressional committee that was put together to celebrate the country. Only $25 million so far has gone to America 250. All of the rest of it has gone towards Freedom 250. And then a separate report found that $100 million have been funneled directly to projects, events, and entities that had ties to the Trump administration. Specifically, tens of millions of dollars went to a company that helped Trump organize the rally that happened outside the Capitol on January 6th.
Who?
So what this is showing you is what we already knew. Again, Donald Trump hosting a UFC fight on the White House lawn on his birthday. Him wanting to take basically taking over this entire like concert festival series thing that they had planned for the 250th celebration this weekend. A bunch of artists started to pull out because it's not a celebration of America. It's becoming a partisan political event. because he's scripting. There's certain artists that he wants to insert. There, he wants to insert in a bunch of speeches. He wants to basically make this entire event about himself. Which, if you paid attention to anything that he's ever done, it's always been about himself. So it's no different with this. Same thing with this 200-foot arch that he's trying to get built in Washington D.C. and named after himself. It's just everything needs to always be about him, and it this one is more so because people on the left, Democrats, even a lot of independents, we already know who this guy is. It's more so for people on the right in the Republican Party. Like, look at this. You claim you love the country. You claim you're standing up for the country. You want the country to do good. You got to see that he is in the way of this becoming a great country. And it's not the reasons that it's not a great country. It's not what he's ascribing. It's not the immigrants. It's not the Democratic Party. It's people like him who only care about themselves and money, that are standing in the way. Again, like I said, this was supposed to be a time to bring people together, to showcase and highlight all the great things that America has to offer. And instead, even if you look at like the state fair that they have going on, one of the North Carolina, they had they on the first couple of days of the festival, they had Confederate flags all around their booth. Like, that shouldn't represent America. It does, unfortunately, represent America, and North Carolina thought it was fitting to represent them. But it's just like, come on, like stuff like that. They even have a baptism tent that apparently is
Pool,
there.
a
Yeah,
baptism pool. Yeah.
that is apparently there like year round, supposedly. But yeah, it's just like stuff like this. It's like,
What
no,
about the
this.
flag?
Yeah, exactly. And then you have other booth that has the Israeli flag that's flying proudly. And it's like, what is this? I thought this was America first, but obviously it's not. It's Israel first. It's Donald Trump first. It's the Republican Party first. It's the donors first. It's everything except for America first. Um, and on America's 250th birthday, again, here's this guy making it about himself again, as if he's not already the most powerful person in the world. He needs everyone to to hear him, to see him, to know that it's about him. And it's nasty and it's disgusting. And it's just in line with everything else that we know. We mentioned it in the show the other day, but with him putting himself on, the passports and everything now too, it's always about him, and he just needs to be remembered. And that's what I think that's what a lot of this project in the second term is about. It's not about actually getting anything accomplished, because for him, I don't think he necessarily cares what he gets accomplished. It's just that he just wants his name to be remembered. So, yeah, sure. You want to go ahead and knock Gaza off the face of the earth? Shoot, as long as I get my resort in Palestine, that's fine. As long as my kids are able to get their homes in Albania or whatever that they want, the resorts and islands and stuff, yeah, that's fine. Go ahead and do what you want. I got this $220 million plane from the Qataris. Cool, thank you. I appreciate it. All that stuff, it's nasty, it's gross, and we need to get away from it.
Not to even mention, when you talk about the plane, they had to actually spend $500 million to retrofit it and make it into airport.
Yeah,
I had a video, but I'm getting a message that we can't actually run the video. So I'm going to spend the last 3 minutes. I was going to show that, but we'll show that on another time. I want to hit on something that has to do with this is going to be controversial, but you should probably expect that from me now, because you know how I feel about it. I often, not for religious reasons, not because I often say that I've been woke since I was 16. I've been woke for about 30 something years. I was woke before the term woke came about. I do not celebrate conventional holidays that this country's had. And people will say that as though I hate America. I want people to understand there's a difference between patriotism and nationalism.
hmm
I am a patriot.
The part of having free speech and being a patriot is actually calling in question your country's and call your country into question when they're not living up to the doctrines that they actually subscribe to. A nationalist blindly just says America first, I love America, and you just follow along with whatever they're doing, and you just roll over and stay quiet. I often have always said, and many times, and it gets, I tell people, and it gets uncomfortable when it's a white person when I say I don't celebrate the 4th of July. And when they dig deep and they like, oh, no, it's not for religious reasons. And this happened today when my son said, I'm black. My people weren't free on 4th of July. And it's not wrong because I've spouted that plenty of times. And the response of this Caucasian person was, oh, but it's because not identifying with the facts. You can love this country and question it. People often, well, you go somewhere else. Do you want to live somewhere else? No, I want this country to be better. If you look these pagan holidays and these things that are made up, if you look back and see how they came about, they are questionable. I love Thanksgiving. I love Thanksgiving because I get to be with my family, we get food, drink, and football. And I get it, but the concept of the true Thanksgiving is a genocide. The true concept of Christmas is fake. It's not even, you talk about Santa Claus and a man from the North Pole bringing down gifts from a chimney when you live in an apartment building, and we're not actually celebrating the birth of Christ. So I take offense when somebody, especially when a Caucasian says that Juneteenth is a made-up pseudo holiday. All these holidays are made up in pseudo, and actually Juneteenth is actually celebrating something worthwhile. It's talking about a people's freedom. So, no, I don't want no cookout. No, I don't care about firecrackers and seeing fireworks and things like that. That's me. Do I shit on other people because they believe in that and they like that and they're no. But I need people to actually be more open to the fact that because you stand up and you rail against a system, or you try to actually not just conform to what the norm is, you're not anti-American. You're just anti-struggle. You're anti-hatred. Knowing your history and knowing the facts are not negatives, because there is not a perfect union. You need to strive to make it a perfect one. So being a black man in America, that flag means different to me. To me personally. Many people in my family don't see it the same way. Many people, we're not a monolith. It's just different to me. So I still always go back, and I said this before on other shows before I had it, always go back to James Baldwin's quote, and I'm an American and I love America. I love her more than any country in this world. But that gives me the right to question her because I love her so much. That's true patriotism. In this short 250 years, my people have only had freedom for 60 of it. And then in the last 10 years, this country has pushed and scrolled back those freedoms. So, no, I'm not just going to sit here and be okay with it and just stand for it and be happy and celebrate its birthday. Actually, it's time that this country start living up to what those words actually say. And with that,
Well
we're going to
said.
end the show. And son, have a great weekend. Enjoy DC.
Sure.
Get some good food. And be safe out there. And we'll see you next time. Hopefully, we gave you some good information. And hey, read these writings from the Supreme Court. Look up what the socialist platform is and see if it actually relates to you. Because a revolution is coming and it's here now. And no matter what, make sure you guys vote in your primaries and you vote in November. We're going to keep on pushing. The only way you can get out of this, well, one of the ways, voting is not everything, but it's an important thing. It's a very much important thing. And with that said, good night. Thank you. And we'll see you next time.
Have a nice one.
All right, son. All right.
We're going to look at what we call suggestibility.
The male-female dynamic. There's actually another way of thinking.
Oh, wow. Thank you, brother.
Yeah.
Check out Beyond the Mind, produced by Peach ENT, Fridays at 8 p.m.
Maserati go crazy.